So I just bought a new van. Just over 23 miles to the gallon. It's a heck of a lot better than anything I ever got in the old pickup truck. Those 8 or 9 or even 10 miles to the gallon extra are gonna make a huge difference. It has been a very long few weeks, maybe even over a month or 2 months at this point. I've lost track of time with this whole van shopping process. I have visited so many different dealerships. I've looked at so many vans online and in person. My head was spinning with ProMasters and Transits for a good portion of the past 2 months, and I'm happy to have finally decided on the van and been able to get it. I'm super excited about this build, guys, and I cannot wait to share it with you. I have noticed, though, over the past couple of months that it seems like dealerships have maybe become more emboldened to try their, like, scummy, sleazy tactics than they were quite a few years ago. Maybe with the supply chain shortages that happened a few years ago, like, it seemed much more common in a lot of different dealerships that I visited over the past couple of months. And one in particular, I almost bought a 136-inch high roof ProMaster. I was even filming it because I thought it was the one and I was going to end up buying it. But during the buying process, it had to be kind of spread out over a couple of days because the van was not ready for delivery and they were closing Saturday evening when I got there. So I was going to come back Monday morning to finish the deal. And during that time, I realized that the dealership had just been outright lying to me about the history of the vehicle. They misled me, the salesperson. I even worked with the general manager. And so I called them out on it. Ended up getting a really bad feeling and said, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this. And they were totally cool, and they said, no problem, we'll just unwind what we've done so far. And that was it, or at least I was hoping. But a couple of days later, I got a message saying that they took a loan out in my name and just forgot to unwind the deal. So then there was this massive loan in my name for a vehicle that I never went to pick up. I never finished signing the paperwork. I didn't give them the down payment. I didn't even want to finance the stupid van. They just forced me to because they had this weird scummy thing where they, do it in 90 days. After 90 days, you can pay it off. They get a little kickback, all this whole stuff. And as you can imagine, I was pretty frustrated to hear that news. Fortunately, to the dealership's credit, they did do the right thing in the end, but it took them 3 weeks to return the money back to the bank. So during those 3 weeks, there was this massive loan in my name, and I knew that this dealership was doing some sneaky things and some shady stuff, so I didn't really know what was going to happen. So let's just say those 3 weeks were pretty stressful. Fortunately, though, during that time, I found this wonderful van, and I'm hoping that it's going to work out well for the next few years, and I do not have to step foot into another car dealership again, at least not for a while. So let's take a look at the van. This is a 2021 Ram ProMaster 1500. It is the shortest wheelbase that you can get here in the United States, 118 inches, and it is a low roof van, as you can see. This is really the one that I wanted when I was doing my ProMaster search, but these things are not super common. Really, the whole goal for me with this van is for it to be a stealth camper, an urban camper. That's basically what I'm doing 95% of the time. I'm going places to surf, and surfing here in the US doesn't really happen in super rural, remote, beautiful boondocking spots. It's usually in pretty built up areas in urban environments. So that is my goal, and something that I really wanted was drivability. 118-inch wheelbase. This thing has a tighter turning radius than basically any vehicle on the road. It's very nimble. It is not very long. I think it's like 16 feet long total, so really not much longer than most vehicles. Fits in any parking spot, and the idea is that I'll be able to easily parallel park it, take it into super built up areas and not have to worry too much about it. That's kind of what I was thinking. I did consider a minivan for a while. I thought about maybe going with a Sienna, maybe even going back to an Element, but I pretty quickly realized that I've sort of outgrown those two options. I don't have a lot more stuff than I did back in my Element days, but I do have a couple of things, mainly my tools, a couple of extra pieces of camera gear, and then my extra surfboard that I showed you guys in a recent video that splits into 2 pieces there. And in order to fit those things comfortably, I would need to go a little bit bigger than just a minivan. So that's why I got to this one. But I didn't quite want to go so big that I was getting this big old extended high roof Transit or ProMaster. That was just too much for me. I think this is going to kind of meet the exact needs that I have. So this van is about the same length as an NV200, but the benefit of it is that it's much wider and much taller. I can actually almost stand up in here. As it stands right here, there's about 5'7" of standing room. I'm about 5'9" in height. Obviously that's going to come down a little bit when I get the floor and the ceiling in here, but not much. Like, I'm almost able to stand up if I just widen my stance like this here. And the other benefit is that I'm going to be able to do a bed going from this side across. So I'm going to have an east-west bed here set up, and then underneath it I'll be able to have storage for those extra things that I mentioned. And then I'm just going to have my little desk chair here, and I'm going to have a desk set up that I can use for cooking on, for working on, probably have some upper cabinets for storage, maybe do some other fun storage things. There's a lot of space inside this van, and that's really what I loved about it. It's a little bit wider than your standard minivan, but like I said, it's not much longer, and it's much taller. I am probably going to get rid of this partition here that came with the van. Stealth is something that I am seriously considering. I do realize that stealth is a little bit overrated. I think people do think about it a little bit too much, but my previous setup with that truck camper was not very stealthy, right? Like, that thing was just a big old box in the back of an old pickup. It had an air conditioner hanging off the back of it, and I used to have to climb out of the front seat and walk all the way around and then put the tailgate down. It was very obvious that someone was sleeping in there wherever I was. Whereas this thing is just going to look like a plain white cargo van on the outside. I'm obviously going to have a low profile solar setup on the roof, and there will be one vent fan on the roof as well. But other than that, it's just going to look like a plain van. I'm not really planning to do any windows, at least not as of right now. And I'm going to have the front divided from the back. If it's not with this partition, I'll just put a curtain, like a blackout insulated curtain there. That's going to be it, you know. So I'm looking forward to trying to make it as stealthy as I can. Like I said, the drivability and just the urban camping side of things is going to be priority number one for this. I want to make it very well insulated as well, so that I can try to keep cool in here even on the hottest days while I'm in Florida. It's starting to get hot in here, so I had to open up the door. I apologize for any wind noise out there. It's getting warm. That is one thing that is definitely happening here. The temperature's starting to rise here in South Florida. I have probably about another month before it starts to get really hot and muggy and humid. So I really want to start going with this build and get it done. You know, it is true, in my experience at least, you tend to overestimate how long it's going to take, or underestimate, I guess, how long it's going to take to do projects like this. But I'm thinking that this will at least be a little bit easier than building an entire box from scratch like I did with the last camper that I did last year. So hopefully it'll be easier than that. And it is a smaller space, so maybe that'll add to it, fewer materials. I have my plan basically set in my head, so we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys posted, do a couple of videos over the next couple months building this thing out. And by the way, I did sell the camper. Jess, it was great meeting you. Thanking you for coming down and picking up the camper. She put it in her Ram 1500, and actually she's going to probably live out of it for a little bit, at least during the summer here, moving forward. So it seemed like a really good fit. Excited that the camper found a new home. Also sold the pickup truck to a family friend. Thank you, Mark, for buying the pickup truck. And yeah, both of them are on to their new lives here, and that is kind of what opened the door for me to finalize this deal and get this van here. One other thing I want to say is that I did purchase this vehicle through Enterprise Car Sales. Some of you guys suggested that I consider rental agencies in the comments below, so thank you to those of you that mentioned that. That's kind of what sparked me to look into Hertz and Enterprise and a few other rental agencies, and ended up finding this one on the Enterprise website. I actually paid to have it transferred from out of state, particularly because it had the lower miles and looked like it was in pretty good condition. And one other thing that was pretty awesome, there was some damage to the rear door when it arrived, when it was shipped in from out of state. And it looked like maybe something had hit the door. Like, I don't know if someone maybe had like a dresser in here and it just smashed into the rear door, the driver's side rear door, and it was in terrible shape. Like, it was all bent out of shape and jacked up. Enterprise actually replaced the door for me entirely, no questions asked. And in my experience, that's kind of unheard of at any used car dealership. I don't know, like even the high roof van that I was looking at, the driver's side window in the front was so scratched up you could barely see out of it, and I asked if they would help me and please replace that, or at least split the cost with me, and they were basically like, nope, we're not doing that, you're on your own, sorry, we just don't have it built into this deal. So it was pretty cool that Enterprise did that. So far so good. I'll keep you guys posted on the Enterprise experience as I continue to own this van, but I thought that was something that was worth mentioning. Excited to share the process with you guys, and I cannot wait to get started. I'm gonna head over to Home Depot now and start buying some materials and get going with this thing. Thank you guys so much for watching and for following along on this journey. I'll talk to you all again soon.